The evening draped the room in a somber hue as I sat, lost in memories of David, my beloved husband. Tears streamed down my cheeks, unchecked, as I clutched onto the fragments of a life shattered by his sudden departure. The intercom's shrill ring shattered the silence, jolting me from my reverie. With trembling hands, I wiped away the tears and made my way to the door, my heart heavy with grief. As I swung open the door, I was met with the sight of my mother-in-law, Mrs. Thompson, and Stella, David's sister. Their presence was unexpected, and I couldn't help but feel a twinge of apprehension at their arrival. Mrs. Thompson's eyes were red-rimmed, betraying the sorrow that mirrored my own, while Stella stood stiffly beside her, her expression unreadable. "Patricia," Mrs. Thompson's voice trembled as she spoke. We came as soon as we heard. We're here for you, dear." I managed a weak smile, though the pain in my chest felt like a vice. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Please come in." Stella shifted uncomfortably beside her mother, her gaze darting around the room. "Is Wyatt here? How is he holding up?" I sighed, the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. "He's in his room. It's been hard on him, losing his father." Stella's expression softened, a flicker of genuine concern in her eyes. "I'll go check on him," she offered quietly before disappearing down the hallway. Left alone with Mrs. Thompson, I struggled to find the words to convey the depth of my grief. "I still can't believe he's gone," I whispered, tears welling up once more. Mrs. Thompson reached out, her hand trembling as she placed it on mine. "I know, dear. He was a good man. We'll get through this together." Her words offered little solace, the ache in my heart too profound to be eased by mere platitudes. As we stood in silence, the weight of our shared loss hung heavy in the air, a painful reminder of the void left by David's absence. In the days following David's passing, the once hidden fault lines within our family structure became starkly apparent. As we grappled with the overwhelming grief of our loss, tensions simmered beneath the surface, threatening to erupt into open conflict. David's strained relationships with his parents and sister Jennifer cast a pall over our collective mourning. Disagreements over education choices and lingering resentments stemming from financial differences had created a chasm between them, one that seemed impossible to bridge in the wake of David's absence. One evening, as I sat in the dimly lit living room, the silence was shattered by the sound of raised voices echoing from the hallway. I rose from my seat, curiosity mingled with trepidation, and made my way towards the source of the commotion. Peering around the corner, I found Mrs. Thompson and Jennifer engaged in a heated argument, their voices laced with frustration and anger. "You never supported him, Mom." Jennifer's words were tinged with bitterness as she confronted her mother. "David always felt like he was the black sheep of the family, and you never once tried to understand him." Mrs. Thompson's expression hardened, her features etched with sorrow. "We only wanted what was best for him, Jennifer. We wanted him to have a bright future, but he refused to see reason." Their exchange laid bare the deep-seated resentments that had festered within our family for years, unresolved and unacknowledged until now. Later that evening, over a tense dinner table, the strained atmosphere hung heavy in the air. Stella sat in silence, her eyes downcast, while Mrs. Thompson and Jennifer exchanged terse glances across the table. "It's not too late to make amends," I ventured, breaking the uneasy silence that had settled over us like a shroud. Mrs. Thompson sighed, her shoulders sagging with the weight of regret. I wish we could have found a way to bridge the gap before it was too late." Jennifer's gaze softened, a flicker of remorse crossing her features. "I never meant for things to end up like this, Mom. I just wish I could have told David how much he meant to me before he was gone." In that moment, amidst the palpable tension and sorrow that hung over our family like a shadow, I realized that our shared grief had the power to bring us together, if only we were willing to confront the past and heal the wounds that divided us. As the days stretched into weeks following David's diagnosis of cancer, our lives became consumed by a relentless tide of uncertainty and despair. The weight of mounting medical bills and the absence of familial support bore down on us like a crushing weight, threatening to drown us in despair. Each morning brought with it a new battle, as we grappled with the harsh reality of David's illness and the daunting challenges that lay ahead. Yet, amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf us, there flickered a faint glimmer of hope. a determination to make every moment count, no matter how fleeting. One afternoon, as I sat by David's bedside, his hand clasped tightly in mine, he turned to me with a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. "I'm sorry, Tricia," he whispered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I never wanted things to turn out like this." Tears welled up in my eyes as I squeezed his hand, the weight of his words settling heavily on my heart. "Don't apologize, David," I choked out. "We're in this together, remember? We'll face whatever comes our way, side by side." David's eyes sparkled with determination, a testament to the strength and resilience that had always defined him. "I'm not giving up, Tricia," he vowed, his voice tinged with conviction. "We'll fight this thing every step of the way." And fight we did, with every ounce of strength and courage we could muster. Despite the overwhelming odds stacked against us, we refused to succumb to despair, clinging to the hope of brighter days ahead. Yet, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the toll of David's illness began to take its toll. Fatigue gnawed at his once boundless energy, and the pain grew more relentless with each passing day. One evening, as we sat together in the quiet solitude of our home, David's voice broke the silence, raw with emotion. "I don't know how much longer I can keep fighting, Tricia," he admitted, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I'm so tired." My heart ached at the sight of his pain, aching to ease the burden he bore. "We'll find a way, David," I promised, my voice trembling with emotion. "We'll get through this together." In that moment, as we clung to each other in the face of overwhelming despair, I realized that our love had the power to transcend even the darkest of days, lighting the way forward amidst the shadows that threatened to engulf us. And with that realization, we vowed to keep fighting, for each other and for the precious moments we shared. As the weight of David's illness bore down on us, threatening to crush our spirits beneath its relentless onslaught, a glimmer of hope emerged from the depths of the past, a lifeline extended by an unexpected ally from David's childhood. One evening, as I sat alone in the dimly lit living room, my mind awash with worry and uncertainty, a knock at the door shattered the silence. With a sense of trepidation mingled with curiosity, I rose from my seat and made my way to answer it. To my surprise, standing on the doorstep was Robert, a childhood friend of David's whom I hadn't seen in years. His presence was unexpected, yet strangely comforting, like a beacon of light in the darkness that threatened to engulf us. "Robert," I exclaimed, unable to conceal the surprise in my voice. "What brings you here?" Robert's expression was somber, his features etched with concern. "I heard about David, Tricia," he said softly. "I'm so sorry." Tears welled up in my eyes at the mention of David's name, the pain of his absence still raw and unyielding. "Thank you, Robert," I murmured, my voice thick with emotion. It's been a difficult time." Robert nodded in understanding, his gaze filled with empathy. "I can't imagine what you're going through, Tricia," he admitted. "But I want you to know that I'm here for you, whatever you need." His words were like a balm to my weary soul, offering a glimmer of solace amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf us. And as we sat together in the quiet solitude of our home, reminiscing about happier times and sharing stories of David's childhood antics, I felt a sense of comfort wash over me, a reminder that even in our darkest moments we were not alone. As the evening wore on, Robert turned to me with a determined gleam in his eye. "Tricia," he began, his voice tinged with resolve. "I want to help you and Wyatt in any way I can. David was a dear friend to me, and I owe him more than I can ever repay." Tears welled up in my eyes at the depth of Robert's sincerity, his unwavering support a lifeline in our darkest hour. "Thank you, Robert," I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for being here for us." In that moment, as we shared in the warmth of Robert's friendship and the memories of David's indomitable spirit, I realized that even in the midst of despair, there was still hope, a flickering flame that refused to be extinguished, lighting the way forward amidst the shadows that threatened to engulf us. And with Robert by our side, I knew that together, we would find the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the days passed, Robert's presence became a steady anchor in our tumultuous lives, his unwavering support a beacon of hope amidst the storm that raged around us. With his help, we began to unravel the tangled web of secrets and debts that lay buried in the depths of David's past, each revelation shedding new light on the challenges we faced. One afternoon, as Robert sifted through a stack of old documents in David's study, a faded photograph caught his eye. With a furrowed brow, he held it up for me to see, a sense of urgency in his gaze. "Tricia," he began, his voice tinged with concern. "Do you know anything about this?" I peered at the photograph, my heart skipping a beat at the sight of a much younger David, standing alongside a group of familiar faces. "That's David with his old school friends," I murmured, my voice tinged with nostalgia. "But why? Why is it significant?" Robert's expression grew solemn as he pointed to a figure in the background, a man whose face seemed to shimmer with a sense of familiarity. "That's me," he admitted quietly. "And there's something I need to tell you, Tricia." As he began to recount the events of their shared past, a sense of disbelief washed over me, a revelation that would forever alter the course of our lives. "You see, Tricia," Robert explained, his voice heavy with regret. "David and we had an arrangement. A debt that I owed him from our school days." My heart pounded in my chest as I struggled to comprehend the magnitude of his words. "A debt?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. Robert nodded, his gaze filled with remorse. "Yes, David saved my life once, and I promised to repay him in any way I could. But I never thought it would come to this." In that moment, as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, I realized the depth of David's sacrifices, the lengths he had gone to protect our family from the burdens of his past. And with Robert's help, we embarked on a journey to reclaim what was rightfully ours, determined to honor David's legacy and secure our future against the threats that loomed on the horizon. As we delved deeper into the intricacies of David's past, each revelation brought us one step closer to the truth, a truth that would forever alter the course of our lives and pave the way for a brighter future, one built on the foundation of love, resilience, and the unwavering bonds of friendship. Armed with newfound knowledge and resolve, Robert and I set out to devise a plan to thwart the attempts of David's family to usurp our home. As we huddled together in the quiet solitude of our living room, the weight of our shared burden heavy upon us, a sense of determination settled over us like a shroud. "We need to be clever about this, Tricia," Robert began, his voice tinged with urgency. "David's family won't give up without a fight, but we have something they don't: knowledge of David's past and the debts owed to him." I nodded in agreement, my mind racing with possibilities. "But how do we use that to our advantage?" I wondered aloud, the enormity of our task weighing heavily on my shoulders. Robert's eyes sparkled with mischief as a plan began to take shape in his mind. "We need to play to their fears, Tricia," he explained, his voice low with excitement. "We need to make them believe that the house is haunted." My heart skipped a beat at the audacity of his suggestion, but the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like our best chance at success. "Haunted?" I echoed, a note of disbelief in my voice. Robert nodded, his expression serious. "Yes. We'll plant rumors of ghostly sightings and strange occurrences, just enough to unsettle them and make them question their decision to take over the house." As we plotted and planned late into the night, the pieces of our scheme began to fall into place, a delicate dance of deception and misdirection, designed to outwit our adversaries and protect what was rightfully ours. The following day, as David's family descended upon our home with plans to claim it as their own, we put our plan into action. With whispered rumors and carefully orchestrated sightings, we sowed seeds of doubt in their minds, casting a shadow of uncertainty over their intentions. As tensions reached a fever pitch and emotions ran high, I caught sight of Mrs. Thompson and Stella exchanging nervous glances, their resolve faltering in the face of the unknown. "What's going on here?" Mrs. Thompson demanded, her voice trembling with apprehension. I met her gaze head-on, my resolve unwavering. "It seems that our home has unexpected guests," I replied cryptically, a hint of mischief in my tone. Stella's eyes widened in fear as she clutched at her mother's arm, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, I don't like this. Maybe we should leave." In that moment, as the seeds of doubt took root in their minds and our plan unfolded before us, I realized the power of deception and the lengths we were willing to go to protect what was rightfully ours. And with each passing moment, our victory seemed all the more assured, as David's family found themselves outmaneuvered and outwitted by the cunning plan we had devised. As the dust settled on our cunning ruse, a sense of triumph washed over us, a victory hard won against the forces that sought to tear us apart. With David's family thwarted in their attempts to usurp our home, we stood on the precipice of redemption, our faith in each other and the bonds of friendship stronger than ever before. One morning, as the sun cast its golden rays upon our home, I sat with Robert and Wyatt in the quiet solitude of our living room, a sense of peace settling over us like a warm embrace. "We did it, Tricia," Robert remarked, his voice filled with pride. "We stood up to them and we won." I nodded in agreement, a smile tugging at the corners of my lips. "Yes, we did," I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude for the allies who had stood by our side, through thick and thin. Wyatt's eyes sparkled with excitement as he turned to me, his voice tinged with awe. "Mom, I can't believe we actually pulled it off," he exclaimed, a sense of wonder in his tone. I ruffled his hair affectionately, a surge of pride welling up inside me. "You were instrumental in all of this, Wyatt," I replied, my voice filled with warmth. "You stood up for what's right, just like your father would have wanted." In that moment, as we basked in the glow of our hard-won victory, I realized the depth of our resilience, the strength that lay within each of us to overcome even the greatest of challenges. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, David's family retreated into the shadows, their attempts to claim our home thwarted by the walls of deception we had built around us. And as we settled back into the rhythm of our lives, a sense of peace descended upon our home, a peace forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the bonds of love and friendship. For in the end, it was not the battles we fought or the victories we won that defined us, but the strength of our resolve and the unwavering belief that together we could overcome even the greatest of obstacles. And with each passing day, as we shared in the warmth of our newfound triumph, I knew that our journey was far from over, but that with each step forward, we would continue to write our own story of triumph and redemption, one filled with hope, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit.